John.
John.
Steve. Neil.
Hi.
Gareth.
Hello and welcome to the Shanty Show, the show about shanties. My name is James.
I'm Richard.
I'm Stefan.
And we're really excited to be interviewing Kimber's men today out of Yorkshire.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for this one. We've been doing shanties now for, it's been almost a decade.
2013.
2013, yeah, so we're at 9 years in. And I'll tell you that going into the shanty treasure trove and trying to pull new songs out was not as easy then as it was now. You go onto YouTube back in the day and there was just a small handful of recordings, and among them there's a solid amount of Kimber's men. So I think that, you know, a foundational group that has informed a lot of our singing, and they've been around for 20 years. They've seen the most recent TikTok craze at the start of last year with Wellerman. They saw the Assassin's Creed Black Flag kind of trend happen there. So I think an interesting 20-year perspective on the last little bit of shanties and how that's been unfolding.
Yeah, and to top it all off, they're just a great bunch of guys. We had a lot of fun with this chat, so I hope you enjoyed as well.
Tell me away.
Sally Brown, she's a girl for me, boys. Row, boys, row, boys, row. Sally Brown, she's a girl for me, boys. Way behind the Sally Brown. We're bound away down south, boys. Row, boys, row, boys, row. We're bound down south with a bone in her mouth. Way behind the Sally Brown. We're bound for Trinidad to see Sally Brown, boys. Row, boys, row, boys, row. We're bound for Trinidad to paint the bleeding town, boys. Way behind the Sally Brown. She's lovely up aloft, and she's lovely down below, boys. Row, boys, row, boys, row. She's lovely 'cause she loves me, that's all I wanna know, boys. Way behind the Sally Brown. She's lovely on the foreyard and lovely on the main, boys. Row, boys, row, boys, row. She's lovely in the summertime and lovely in the rain, boys. Way behind the Sally Brown. Oh, Captain Baker, how do you stow your cargo? Row, boys, row, boys, row. Some must stow forward and some must stow after. Way behind the Sally Brown. There's 40 fathom or more below, boys. Row, boys, row, boys, row. There's 40 fathom or more below, boys. Way behind the Sally Brown. Way higher and up she rises. Row, boys, row, boys, row. Way higher and the blocks is different sizes. Way behind the Sally Brown. One more pull, don't you hear the mater bawling? Row, boys, row. One more pull, that's the end of the hauling. Way behind the Sally Brown. Woo!
Thank you. That was great. Great. Yeah, so why don't you tell us about that song?
You learned it from a computer game.
No, it's not Black Flag. It is on Black Flag, actually,
Is it?
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it because it was on Black Flag, actually.
Yeah, fair.
What song was it we did? It was on Black Flag and it just went through the roof.
Bully?
Bully in the Alley.
Bully in the Alley, of course.
It went through the roof. I thought, right, I'm having a Black Flag song.
Because John sings a version of Bully in the Alley, which is on YouTube, and that's got, what,
3.5 million hits or something like that.
So that's like our big hit on YouTube.
Yeah.
So Steve's chasing him with that one.
So help me, Bob, I'm bully in the alley. Way, bully in the alley. Help me, Bob, I'm bully in the alley. Bully down in Shinbone now. Sally is a girl in Shinbone Alley. Way, hey, bully in the alley. Sally is a girl that I spliced nearly. Bully down in Shinbone now.
So, but you guys have been around obviously a lot longer than things like, Black Flag, which brought a lot of popularity to shanties, or the recent TikTok crazes. I mean, I think you formed in 2001. I'd love to for you to take us back there and give us a little bit of how it all started for you.
John?
Yeah, well, with a mate called Joe Stead, who was been a folk singer for a long time, so since the 60s, and he decided to do a CD called Valparaiso around the Horn, and it was describing the journey from Liverpool to Valparaiso and the different shanties and the uses of those shanties on the journey. And in order to do it, he needed a chorus for the shanties, and he knew Neil quite well, and Roger Hepworth, who was one of the founder members of the band, and he sort of vaguely knew me, and so we ended up getting together with a load of other people and recording the choruses, and then afterwards he said to Neil, myself, and Roger, do you fancy forming a shanty band? And we said, yeah, why not? So we did that, and then we used to rehearse every week. We were determined to make a CD fairly quickly, so we used to put £5 in every time. Every time we rehearsed, we'd put a £5 note into the kitty, and then we did a concert which was like a fundraiser for the CD as well, and then we went and recorded the first album, which had got 21 tracks or 22 tracks on it, which is ridiculous, really. But we could have made we could have made 2 albums with the same amount of material. But we were determined to put the words on the album as well, so we had a little booklet with all the words in, which is, I think, is useful to everybody, isn't it? Especially to us when we've forgotten what the words are, and that we just took off from there, and then a few years, we've been going about 4 years, I think, when Roger died.
Yeah, about 4 years.
Roger Hepworth, Tonky, was a fantastic guitar player, and he did he did the high harmonies, and he developed lung cancer, and he died. So we then carried on as a 3-piece for a bit, and then we went to a festival, and Neil had got food poisoning, and so he had to go. He ended up in hospital, actually.
Again?
Yeah.
Usual bed?
Nothing serious.
Campylobacter, and so we ended up with just me and Joe at this. It was Hull Shanty Festival, and there were only us 2 there, and so Joe didn't sing any harmonies. So if I led a song, he would just sing the melody. So we suddenly realised that we really did need to get somebody else on board, and then I think we got Dave Buckley, and he joined us. He'd been actually performing in a musical in Halifax with the Titanic.
Captain Smith.
Yeah.
Captain Smith, weren't you?
And so he was with us for quite a long time. Then Gaz joined, so we ended up with 5 of us at one time. So this is Gaz here, and he joined us, and then so it gave us a bit of a, if somebody couldn't make it, then we're still a 4-piece, and it worked out quite well. And
what was that? Was it 14 years ago, or was it?
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but
15 years ago.
That was when you were still younger.
I know, I'm not anymore. You've aged me carrying you.
It's been hard work, but I've managed it finally. It's a good job you're a strong lad, lad.
Yeah, and then Dave left, and so we're back to a 4-piece again, and then we got Steve in. We got Mike Beakin, a lad called Mike Beak, who plays English bagpipes, border pipes.
You like doing that more than singing shanties?
Yeah, he did really. Yeah. But we recorded a track on the album with him playing the pipes, a couple of tracks actually.
Yeah.
And so that was another bit that enhanced it. Anyway, he ended up doing job share with Steve.
Yeah.
Well, he says these lot were going on boat trips on tall ships, and I just recorded Gaz's solo album, and I was like, see if you can get me on the trip on the ship for a week. And Neil says if he learns 6 shanties, he can come and help us on the ship, sort of thing. So I did that, and then Michael, on the last day, Michael says to me, do you fancy doing a bit of a job share, because he's in another band called Heretique, and they had gigs as well. So I says, yeah, and since that day,
we've never seen Beaky since.
I went on the phone to him. I says, This job share, I seem to be doing all the work, mate.
What do you say?
Oh, I've left.
I'm in France.
Yeah, I'm in France now.
You guys being from Yorkshire, I'm curious how much did that impact your interest in nautical music? I believe that James Cook did his nautical training around Whitby, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he's from up the coast in Staithes, yeah.
Well, that's where I learned to sail.
Okay. And then Hull is mentioned in at least one shanty I can think of, the Heave Away Majonis. So how much of that was sort of on your minds when you guys got started?
Very little.
Yeah, very
Let's
little.
be honest.
We actually live virtually in the centre of the country, so we're equally spaced from Hull in the east to Liverpool in the west.
About 60 miles in
and
either
then,
direction,
you know,
really, you know.
John O'Groats, the top end of Scotland, and is about 7-8 hours away, and then Land's End in Cornwall is about another 7 or 8 hours away.
We're right in the middle.
Yeah, we're smack in the centre, furthest from the sea.
We're about as landlocked as you can get.
On a small
On a small island,
Yeah.
really, you know.
Yeah.
So what was the initial impetus then?
Everybody
I guess
had
it's.
different, wasn't it? It was different for each person,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
I guess it's largely the singing together, really. I think.
And we specialise in the harmonies because we really love harmonising. We're lucky we've got John with his girly deep voice there, you know. But we all have a different idea of harmonies, and we can all naturally harmonise without writing anything down or.
Well, you say this. I don't know.
But it was mainly the songs and the.
There is a strong folk tradition in the folk clubs, and the shanties are pretty prevalent. Say the word for me.
Prevalent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Saved me a lot of bother there.
I mean, I've been singing folk songs since I was about 15 in folk clubs, and it's another aspect of it. And I also enjoy singing shanties and singing songs of the sea. You know, so it's.
And we all learnt them at school.
I've been sailing tall ships, the 60-metre brig, since 2001 as deckhand crew, and then as shantyman. And it was the 50th anniversary of the tall ships races in 2006, and I got the whole band aboard Stavros Esniarchos, the tall ship, for a week's voyage, and we were entertaining the crew and shantying to hauling the sails and everything
Working
else.
the ship to shanty the traditional way, you know.
And then we've been lucky enough to do that ever since on a regular basis. And John's a chef, so he's even gone in and gone as assistant cook on board and that sort of thing.
Nice.
Oh, great. Well, if you ever need an extra set of hands on one of those voyages.
It's a bit of a long way for you to come, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, for a week on the water, I think we could take a trip.
Yeah.
How far are you guys from the sea there?
It's a long way from the sea, but we're lucky enough to be on the shores of Lake Ontario, which you can actually I'm a tall ship sailor. Well, in my distant past at this point, but when I was a teenager in early 20s, and you can get all the way from Toronto up into Lake Superior if you want to, but Lake Huron and the north end of there is like some of the best cruising ground in the world. Just great winds, lovely little channels, and no tides to deal with. So
Great fun.
Yeah. Fresh water.
yes, and freshwater.
There did develop a history of freshwater sailing that I think is perhaps maybe underrepresented in the nautical history, because so much of the initial highway getting into North America was coming in through the St. Lawrence and then sailing in through there from. I mean, you had, of course, all of the industry on the East Coast and the lumber trade that was building the ships and the shipbuilding yards in whether it was Lunenburg or St. Martin's or
our
Halifax,
Halifax,
or our Halifax, the fake Halifax. But yeah, moving everything into kind of, settling into North America by taking the St. Lawrence River and then using the Great Lakes as kind of this big highway system. there's a big tradition of tall ship sailing and freshwater sailing here, and it is possible to start in Toronto where we are now, get in a sailboat and go all the way out to the Atlantic, go down to the Caribbean, go across the Atlantic. So it's very possible it is accessible. We are not technically landlocked, although we have probably whatever it is, 1,400 kilometers, something like that, to the actual coast. Yeah.
We've got the canal.
Yeah.
We've got the canal down at the bottom.
That's basically the same thing.
Manchester, then Manchester Ship Canal, you know.
Yeah.
A little narrowboat though.
You can canoe down
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating to hear that you have that social singing background, because when I listen to your albums, the sound to me is just so sort of quintessential English shanty singers, like, you know, the Johnny Collins, Jim McGeehan type of sound.
That's exactly where it should be too. Yeah.
Well, Johnny and Jim were they've been old pals of ours, and we did quite a lot of gigs with them in the early days, around the coast and different folk festivals. A couple of guys, and they were always really encouraging and helpful.
Johnny used to love singing.
Johnny.
He always came and stood next to John whenever, you know.
Yeah.
I say that Johnny Collins was probably directly responsible for us actually being in a shanty band and having a shanty podcast to a certain degree, I suppose.
Yeah. And actually, I was commenting to Stefan yesterday, I think, that it's interesting, like, to me, you guys really nailed that English shanty sound. And when we were singing with Craig Edwards, he's got that sort of almost like a bluesy delivery as well, being from Virginia, being an American.
Oh, when we roll around Cape Horn, round the corner, Sally, you wish to God you'd never been born. Round the corner, Sally. Oh.
And when we interviewed George Frederick, Tall 12, he's got this completely different take. He's from the island of St. Vincent.
Hey, booty Monday. Hey, boy. You go walk down South Pan. Hey, boy. Hey, booty Monday. Hey, boy. You go walk down South Pan. Hey, boy.
And it's really interesting. Different sort of cultures have a slightly different or pretty different take on shanties. I don't know where we kind of fit into all of that, but it's interesting. It's the same songs, but the delivery can be...
Even Gibb Schreffler, one of the scholars of shanties in America, said that, that's a very Canadian sound when he heard the shanties on Black Flag.
That's right.
Which was from a Montreal-based artist. What did he say? He was like, it was the Quebec on the deck.
Yeah.
Are you ever in Quebec?
Right.
Timber on the deck. It was a very consonant-driven, forceful kind of... I think that's what he was getting at. But yeah, that was the idea.
It's a vastly different delivery to El Pony Pissador.
Right, yeah. Yes.
They're great guys. They're good friends of ours. We've been friends a lot of years now, haven't we?
Yeah.
And,
oh, great.
Yeah, we got to have a chat with Mikkel, and what a guy, just like a philosopher as well as a musician. Just awesome.
Yeah,
fantastic. Lovely guys, all the way from Spain. Well, not Spain.
Catalonia.
Thank you. Yes, no. Yeah, absolutely. Not make that mistake.
Hey, would you guys sing us another song?
Yeah. From Liverpool to Frisco, where over I went, for to stay in that country it was my intent. Women and whiskey like other damn fool. Well, I soon was transported back to Liverpool, and it's roll, but it's roll, and Liverpool duties have got us in tow. For 42 days we were hungry and sore. The winds were against us, the winds they did blow. Off Battery Point, lads, we anchored at last, with our mainmast hove to and our jibboom fine fast, and it's roll, it's roll, them Liverpool duties have got us in tow. Well, the boarding house masters were round in a trice, a-shouting and promising all that was nice. One fat old pimp took a liking to me. He says, you're a fool, lad, to follow the sea. And it's roll, it's roll, and Liverpool duties have got us in tow. He said, I
Have a job of lads waiting for thee, with plenty of liquor and bugger all today. He says, what's the think, lad, will I jump at two? Says I, you fat bugger, I'm damned if I'll do. And it's roll, roll is roll, and Liverpool Judies have got us in tow. Well, the best of intentions, they never get far. After 42 days at the door of a bar, I tossed off me liquor, and what do you think? Well, the rotten old bugger put drugs in me drink, and it's roll, roll is roll, and Liverpool Judies have got us in tow. And the next thing I knew, I awoke in the morn on a 3 skysail yard about out round the horn, and a pair of old oilskins and a dose of the pox, and an IOU nailed to the lid of me box, and it's roll, roll is roll, and Liverpool Judies have got us in tow. So come all you young sailors and listen to me. Keep your hand on your drink, lads, when liquor is free. Pay no attention to runner or hawk. Keep your hat on your head and your feet on the floor. And it's roll, roll is roll, and Liverpool Judies have got us in tow. And it's roll, roll is roll, and Liverpool Judies have got us in tow.
Well, it's nice to hear a Liverpool song after the big win over Chelsea today. So, yeah, thanks for that.
Did they win over Chelsea today, did they?
You did, yeah. Penalty shootout.
Right.
11 to 10.
That guy who gave up ownership or something of the club.
That's right. Yeah.
Not getting too topical or anything, you know.
That's all right. I'm curious about those lyrics. I haven't heard that particular set of lyrics before. Do you know where you got those from?
I got that from a guy called, is a children's entertainer called Colonel Custard.
Is that right?
Yeah. And he lives near us, and he sings a lot of folk songs. And he sang it in a session once, and I said, I've not heard those words before. He said, get your copy of them. So he actually typed, it's probably the wife that typed them out, but he gave me a copy of it, yeah. And I thought it was a great version, that I really like it.
Yeah.
Some fruitiness in it, I would
Yeah.
say.
So I like a bit of, cheek and a bit of bawdiness.
It's definitely a bawdy one.
Yeah.
We like to try and find different versions, different songs wherever we can.
Everybody does that, right?
That nobody else is singing, like the Wellerman. Well, Gaz picked that up in 2012 in Swanage, in the south end of England. Oh yeah, could have been 2010. From a Kiwi guy
Called Gavin.
In a pub. And
The Red Lion in Swanage.
he just sidled up and he said, I've got this song you might really like. All right.
He didn't actually. What he did, he was a sing-around, and he was like this hyperactive sort of, like got too much tartrazine in his pop or something like that, in his fizzy drink. And he was like really eager to get in and do this song. And yeah, he sang The Weller Man. That was the first time I ever heard it. And I think it was 2009, actually.
Was it? Yeah.
And I just thought, that's a brilliant song. So yeah, we nicked it for ages. We've dropped it now. We don't do that song anymore.
It's like Barrett's Privateers for us, the Stan Rogers song. It's if you're a Canadian shanty band, literally every time you do a concert, you're being asked to sing that. And we just
No, don't mean nothing by it. I mean, it's fantastic what the Weller Man did for shanty.
Yeah.
It's I think it's fun. Really incredible.
And I think this is an interesting observation that you mentioned Black Flag. Now we're talking about the Postman and his Wellerman TikTok craze.
But here we are on you're on the other side of the world on a screen. We're on the other side of the world on a flat screen, and this is,
just the way they used to do it.
and I think the interesting, we have these blips over the past few decades, and not even decades, because it's going to go back historically as folk music does, but we get these little, particularly with newer media, you'll see whether it's a pirate movie comes out or a video game or now some social media spike in the algorithm. But you've been, a durable presence in the shanty scene for the past 20 years and witnessed a lot of that. I mean, as you said, doing Wellerman 10 years before it hit 12 years before it hit the top 40. How does it kind of feel to be that veteran stalwart voice watching, Shanties keep you
You're not so old, but I am, though, and he is.
It's pretty good, really. I remember the longest Johns. Young lads from Bristol. They've just done really well with TikTok and whatever else. I remember them coming on the scene, and the first time we saw them was in a little place called the Pingerdam in Holland.
Good Shanty Festival.
In the Netherlands.
Yeah, we get over there to that one.
Yeah, Bidype, yeah.
We did Bidype, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that's it, Bidype. And they came roaring up the road. We were standing outside a pub singing, and they came roaring up the road, standing there. I went, "Oh, you guys are the longest Johns, eh? You want to come and sing with us?" And they went, "Oh, yes, please."
Now we do that to them. Do you remember us? Hi. Hi, Johnny Darley.
But I think the greatest thing of all is that we've met so many friends with friends throughout the world now. We travelled down to Australia on a wing and a prayer, really. We landed in Australia, didn't really know where we were going. And somebody said, "Oh, you'll get picked up tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock and taken to a..."
Yeah, Don.
Yeah.
It turned up with this quite a big car, but then it got like a very agricultural looking trailer.
Yeah, like a cattle trailer on the back. Yeah.
Put our gear into that and took us.
It took us 4 hours down the road, dropped us at somebody's house. And
had a good adventure.
Yeah, and then 4 days after that, we travelled down to the southwest corner to Albany, and we headlined the first ever Shanty Festival in Australia. And in fact, they were saying the first ever Shanty Festival in the Southern Hemisphere. So that was a great accolade for us as well. We're very proud to have done that. And we made so many friends over there. But with so many friends in the singers and songwriters over just in Europe.
Just a good community, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very good community.
And Steve, after about a year of being in the band, he said, "This is a shanty family." And
everybody calls it that now.
Yeah.
By the way, Anna sends her love from the Norfolk Broad. So I was with her last weekend.
Yeah.
Do you guys know them girls?
Yeah, we know of them, but we don't know them.
They're excellent.
Yeah, sweet. They've got some great harmonies, and they're not as pretty as we are, though.
No.
This is that's an interesting piece too, because I'm asking about kind of these, the decades of blips that we see as pop culture picks up and then cools down, nautical music or shanties. But I think that we've also been experiencing a bit of the kind of intergenerational transfer of wealth as it comes to folk music and the lore and the tradition. Such a strong, the Stan Hugel book comes up in every discussion that we have with people around the world. Everyone's trying to, look for a new song or share this new discovery, or, James asking for where you might have found those new lyrics that he hadn't heard before, for example. So I just kind of wonder, in the context of not only participating in shanties over a couple of decades, but also participating in shanties and then ushering in, Longest Johns, ushering in a younger generation, our friends in Catalonia. How does that feel do you feel like there's a responsibility? How do you see your place in this kind of intergenerational arc of folk music?
Fragile.
Seems to be pushed off the edge. Yeah. It's great, isn't it? That's coming through,
But as a 16-year-old kid, I left school. Before I started work, I went on an outward bound course in Wales. And one of the instructors was Stan Hugel. And he was instructing in sailing techniques and whatever else. And he'd lead singing sessions at night. And I was thinking, who's this old guy that can't sing? He knows a lot of songs, but he can't sing.
He couldn't.
Wow.
I had not a clue that he was probably the last shanty man. And
Joe Stead, of course, actually recorded 3 Standard albums.
Yeah, he won on board the Cutty Sark, and I think that was Storm Long John with them as well.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Well, we're mates with the residue of Storm Long John.
You heard them guys, right?
Oh yes, of course.
They're Liverpool.
They're the idols, really. You know, they're the elder statesmen, the Storm Long John guys.
Yeah, so we bump into Harry and Arthur, who were now called Yesterday's Men, yeah, and they're great, and
they've got some great tales to tell, haven't they?
Yeah, and they're sort of generous with they've got given songs to the Longest Johns and given songs to us as well.
Yeah. You know, we learned a lot of their knee, haven't we?
Yeah, and it's just nice to be involved with people like that who been there and done it and sort of taking more.
They're a direct link back to really, you know. So.
I was over in the UK a few years ago, and I went on a bit of a Stan Hugel pilgrimage. I went to Hoylake, which where he was born, outside of Liverpool, and I tried to find the exact cottage where he was actually born, which no longer exists, but there was an RNLI station there too. And I believe his dad worked for the RNLI, and they do a lot of incredible work. It's a group that I really have a lot of admiration for. And I was curious about your song, I think it's called Robert Whitworth. That's and sort of how that ties in with, you're talking about how folk music and shanties kind of overlap. Could you tell us a bit about that song?
Yeah, it was a famous Yorkshire East Coast rescue at the time, and my wife wanted to, she's written a few songs and wanted to write a song about an RNLI rescue, and that was a really great story, and it happened in 1881.
Whitby visitor?
Just after Christmas, I think, January, really cold, snowy January night, and a local ship called the Visitor, running out of Whitby, foundered on the rocks just outside Brunswick Bay, and she was sat there all night on the rocks getting battered, and then come daylight, people saw her from the cliffs. And the local lifeboat in Brunswick Bay was really old and not up to the job, and they didn't put to sea. So they sent a message to the Coast Guard in Whitby and asked for the Whitby lifeboat to come round and take the people off. And I think there were five or six seamen on board, and they decided that it was too dangerous, the seas were too high. So they hauled the lifeboat up the cliffs out of Whitby, through 7 or 8 feet of snow, and there were like 200 people there shoveling snow, and teams of horses hauling the lifeboat over the moors, and then they dropped her down into Robin Hood's Bay. But the roads were so tiny and narrow that they got down at the bottom of Robin Hood's Bay, and they couldn't get the carriage round the corners. So they dropped the lifeboat off and slid it down the roads in the snow. And they were pulling people's fences and bushes down at the side of the roads and everything. And they finally launched in Robin Hood's Bay and put out to sea. And the first attempt failed because the oars broke. And so they came back into shore, got more oars, put another team on board. So instead of having 8 rowers, they had 16, and they finally got out and they rescued the whole crew of the Visitor and brought them back into shore. And it was a mammoth task, but a happy outcome. They saved everybody that day. And so my wife wrote a story about that, stuck some music to it, and then we recorded it, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago.
It's the first album.
Yeah.
Well, it's a stunning song, and you have to say your wife did a great job commemorating that incident.
Yeah, great story.
Thank you. Yeah, we did another one about the Penlee lifeboat disaster in Cornwall, and that was back in 1981, 6 days before Christmas, and a ship called the Union Star was on a maiden voyage across Mounts Bay, and her engine stopped in terrible weather that night, storm force 12. So hurricane force winds up to 150 mile an hour. And finally the Penlee lifeboat put to sea, and they took 4 people off, and then a huge wave picked up the lifeboat, dropped her on the deck of the freighter, and she stayed there for some minutes, and then she was washed back into the sea again. And then finally all radio contact was lost with the vessels. And sadly, the whole crew that night of the Solomon Brown lifeboat perished, and the 8 people aboard the freighter died as well. And we were very honoured a few years ago to go down and sing in the old lifeboat house, and there was one of the sons of the coxswain there that night. So. That was a big honour for us.
That's very hard to sing.
Very moving.
It's a real living memory.
Yeah, they actually took us out on the new lifeboat out to the ground where the both vessels went down as well. So that was really a special Sunday, wasn't it?
Well, it was incredible. Yeah. An incredible experience.
Emotional and
the whole weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard to sing with a lump in your throat like that, though. It's like
yeah. So that was a real special moment for us. You get them, don't you, every now and then, things that you never forget.
Sunday we sat in the car and looked at each other, and Gareth said, "What just happened?
Yeah,
what's just happened?"
Yeah, I think that's one of those. That's a story that really underlines one of the most, I'd say, beautiful core pieces of folk music is that it really is just a music of the people, and it's a music of stories of the people. And I think that's one of those, it's a little capsule of that showing up in maybe one of the most powerful ways. So thank you for sharing that story. That was really something. Yeah.
I know it wasn't one of the songs that you were planning to sing, but it does kind of feel like if there's any way we could convince you to sing one of those.
Town, they've heard that the Solomon Brown has gone down. The Union Star wrecked in the swell, with all wives lost, 8 heroes as well. But don't take the heroes, no answer the call. Don't take the heroes, return them to shore. You're winning the battle for lives lost at sea. But don't take the heroes, don't take the heroes, their fathers and brothers and sons just like me. He stands alone, as in God's design. We shall not take fathers and their sons this time. Trevelyan's words still ring in his ears. The salty spray meets his salt tears. But don't take the heroes who answer the call. Don't take the heroes, return them to shore. You're winning the battle for lives lost at sea. But don't take the heroes, don't take the heroes, their fathers and brothers and sons just like me. There on the shelf, his photograph stands. She's holding a medal instead of his hand. The medals can't caress, can't wipe away tears, can't care for a mother in her golden years. Don't take the heroes, no answer the call. Don't take the heroes, return them to shore. We're winning the battle for lives lost at sea. But don't take the heroes, don't take the heroes, the fathers and brothers and sons just like me. The small boy, he said, what did Daddy do? And why do I live here all alone with you? She showed him a medal, said stand proud and tall. When you're a man, you'll answer the call. But don't take the heroes, no answer the call. Don't take the heroes, return them to shore. You're winning the battle for lives lost at sea. But don't take the heroes, don't take the heroes, their fathers and brothers and sons just like me. Kids got and families all torn apart. Or is the pain in each grieving heart that although you've taken Trevelyan's men, we won't be beaten, we'll fight you again. Don't take the heroes, no answer the call. Don't take the heroes, return them to shore. You're winning the battle for lives lost at sea. But don't take the heroes, don't take the heroes, their fathers and brothers, fathers and brothers, fathers and brothers, and sons just like me.
Jeez.
Well remembered.
Glad we went off script a little bit. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was great.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So, thanks. That was just, as Stefan said, off script. We were going to stick to Shanties, but after that story, it was just really special to hear that song. So thank you. Well, I think we're heading towards time here. So, any last thoughts? I know that we're getting kind of sort of out of lockdown, maybe, fingers crossed, and you might have a couple gigs coming up. So is there anywhere where your fans may be able to see you coming up soon?
Yeah, we're at the Hollins Mill at Ryburn Folk Club on the 20th.
My calendar's up here.
I think it's the 27th of April.
Oh, you're in luck. I might actually have the edit done by then.
27th of April.
Yeah, and also we're at another club, aren't we?
Bromley Cross.
Bromley Cross. In
Barlow.
the 25th, Barlow Folk Club on the 25th of March. And then
Rochester.
Oh, Rochester's great. We're playing in the castle grounds there, and a big stage. It's fantastic, big walled grounds.
the Norman Keep in Rochester.
I didn't know his name.
Yeah, Norman. Called,
And how can people find out more about you and find your music and buy your albums?
On the social Facebook
Yeah.
page.
Facebook with Kimber's Men, and we're on kimbersmen.com. We've got a website.
And I know from experience that if somebody sends you a direct message on Twitter that you guys reply, so thanks for that.
Mainly on Facebook. We're old-fashioned. We're old school, you know.
Yeah, I struggle finding my way around Twitter, and I run the account. It's really weird, but Facebook we're pretty au fait with.
So anybody who wants to hurl abuse at us, that's the place to go.
And the details of my email accounts, and people often contact us through that as well.
Links to Bandcamp pages.
It probably comes across, but obviously we've got a tremendous amount of respect for the way that you guys do what you do, both the singing side of it and the way that you find the songs and the types of songs that you select. And so I guess my question is, as you think about, hey, we might be in a situation in which lots of new people are discovering shanties and kind of navigating their way through it, and maybe even daring to venture into the world of singing these songs out in the wild. What advice would you have for somebody who's just starting out with regards to how to find songs, sing them, and find people to sing them with?
Make sure that you drink. And if you've ever come to one of our shows, you realise that that's real advice.
I think the biggest thing is just enjoy it and show you're enjoying it. We have great fun on stage. And we take the music seriously. We really try not to take ourselves seriously.
It's impossible.
I thought you were going to say the big question is, when are you going to come to Canada?
Yeah.
We're just waiting for the invitation.
You're welcome anytime, but I think we'd rather go over there for the time.
We'll call it a cultural exchange.
Yeah, we'll do a swap.
Like pen pals.
But you know what? We do have some contacts with the Fresh Festival. That the first iteration will be this year, so we'll make sure that they get in contact with you. It'll be around the Bay of Fundy, around St. John, New Brunswick. Beautiful part of Canada, just stunning. St. Martin, where it's being held about 40 minutes outside of St. John, is one of the bigger shipbuilding centers at that time. So great deal of history there. And the gentleman putting it on with the Shanty group out of St. John, New Brunswick, has aspirations to grow it to be the biggest Shanty festival on the East Coast. So we'll drop your details and encourage him to bring over.
Yeah, we were thinking as well, if we came over there, we could just pop over to the West Coast and see some pals of ours over there.
Yeah, just pop over the 4,200 kilometers or so from East to West Coast.
Oh, I do really hope that we do have the chance to sing together in the very near future now that the world is opening up. Yeah. Would you take us home with one last song?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, they're great. I'd really like to hang out with them in person.
Yeah.
I'm going back to
Well done, well done, well done.
I'm going back to
Well done.
to get a job in the
Well done,
Our captain of you.
Find me, find me, find me.
Our captain of you.
Find me,
got a fire on my buddies too. Where their house is on the fire, fire, fire. Their house is on the fire, and it is almost burning down. Well, I don't want no woman, woman, woman. No, I don't want no woman who got her lucky horses made. Well, the captain, he's got a blue gun, blue gun, blue gun. Yeah, the captain, he's got a blue gun. And the mate, he's got an owl say. So I'm going back to well done, well done, well done. Yeah, I'm going back to well done. You get a job in the well done yard.
And we're done.
Needs more chords.
Can't. That's all. We'll just stop right there.
That was brilliant.
Unreal. Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Great
Yeah.
version. Thank you so much. That was inspiring.
Nice
Thank
one.
you, guys.
Cheers,
Cheers,
Thanks for being
Lovely to
here.
meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
likewise.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an honour to be asked to cooperate across the other side of the world, really.
Oh my goodness. The honor is seriously all ours. This was just a really solid hour.
To say we started in 2013, and you guys were one of the groups that I really looked up to right at the outset. So yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome to meet you.
Cheers.
Look, well, a huge thanks to Kimber's men for making some time to speak with us, and that version of Weldon.
That was
Whoa.
Yeah, really something. Yeah, that deep bass really shook me. I think that I may try and study it myself if I can do it justice.
Look, if you like what we're doing here, and if you want to hear more conversations like this, please do hit the like and subscribe buttons. Every time you do that, it bumps us further up the algorithm so that people who like shanties just like you have a better chance of finding us. So thanks so much for listening. It really does make a huge difference, and we'll see you on the next episode.
So long, me boys, you've been to sea and cannot tire bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling, hall. hall. So long, me boys, you've been to sea and cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. You called yourself the second mate and cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. You called yourself the first mate and cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. Well, breeze and storm and sun and rain, I never met a girl like Lucy Jane. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. She lived in the sun as well as the rain. There never was a girl like Lucy Jane. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. Well, I puts me arm around her waist, says she, young man, you're in great haste. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. Well, last 10 months I've been at sea, and any girl looked good to me. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. Well, I puts me hand upon her knee, says she, young man, you're rather free. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. Well, last 10 months I've been at sea, and the cabin boy looked good to me. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. Well, I spent me money in a week ashore, I'll pack me bags for sea once more. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. I spent me money in a week ashore, I'll pack me bags for sea once more. Oh, bowling, bowling hall. A bowling, you cannot tie a bowling.